Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We have four because we have four and Dave's gonna come in any minute, so he's here.
Okay.
Today's agenda, what I want to try to cover is the critical dates that we need to look at, get to a November town meeting or election of some sort. We zoned in on November's our time frame, whether it be special or town, we haven't decided yet. I think we still need to drive the dates. The other thing we're looking at is getting an update on the design. I spoke with Mike. He has that estimate not to exceed 10 grand. But he should be able to start to help us out, give me some information, more detail for next week's meeting. We'll redesign, a couple redesign, with some potential numbers. So that's coming in a good time. And then the other thing we can touch upon is the communications at the end of the meeting. We'll just spend a little bit about that, but mostly I want to take a look at the second page of the document. Oh, before we get there, does everybody approve? Do I have a motion?
You just got him like midnight last night. I was watching the Celtics. I mean, I have to have my priorities.
Do I have a motion to approve
The minutes.
the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
A second,
Second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved, thank you.
Hey,
Sorry,
Phil, before we get too far into it, when you talk to Mike, just make sure we still need to appropriate the funds for the work he's gonna do.
I know,
So that's not, that
Not bad.
requires a vote of both the board and FinCom right now, because that's FinCom reserves is probably the place we're going, unless you have an invoice. Then maybe Jody might be able to encumber funds before the end of the year, but if that doesn't pass, then we actually don't have money till a later date. So he needs to be aware of that before he gets too far down this path.
yeah, I don't want to get quite on path with him. I don't want to stretch him out. I think he's done enough. I don't believe any vendor should be paid. Good work not be paid. But, yeah, this is just a discussion preliminary. Not a
Okay.
design. If we have to go to the FinCom end, that would be the end of June? So beginning of July?
I'm hoping they'll join us next Wednesday at the board meeting. I asked Greg to put an agenda topic on to discuss, senior center redesign, specifically the funding.
Yep.
So at a minimum, the board will need to take a vote.
Yep.
But the transfer would require FinCom to vote too, but they might do their own separate meeting. I talked to Mike today about that. So he's checking on availability, et cetera.
So it sounds like before we get Mike too far engaged, it's at least a week, if not more. Before we have the fun. I have engaged informally, just talking to him, like he joined the meeting the other day. And he's aware of what we're trying to head to, and he's scratching his head trying to think of something. But no.
Yeah,
formal-
I just want to be upfront with him to say money has not been appropriated officially. So, if you were to present something for payment, it may not get paid right now,
I told him at the beginning was at the end of last meeting, I think I said to him, we won't have money until July. I was assuming it's select board meeting. Then
Yeah, I mean, earliest would be next Wednesday if we both vote to support it.
so maybe we don't have anything till the following week. But we know we can start to position all the text for the warrant, but not the ballot questions and everything. But we have to get that done by August. Give me we have to get the language done by August 7th for the state secretary to get their stuff done. But we could go through that as we go through the schedule. So anyway, Mike is ready to help us, but he does need the invoice. I hear he needs a billing. Right now, we don't have it. Okay. Second set of documents, Mike, it's the MCS dates and actions needed to get a vote in November of 2024. I think I just wanted to walk through this and, you know, add some more things if we need to.
Okay.
Change some things if we need to. I'm just thinking we're gonna run meetings on a weekly basis, whoever can make it. Until we get this over the next threshold. I'm still as committed as I was a year and a half ago, so we need to get this thing done. And until we get it through that point, I think we need to meet, even if it's for a short time. Early July, we're gonna need to have the legal review of the language valid language again for the debt exclusion. Like, and I'm not sure if it's some of the same words or verbiage that we have today, or if it's a modification of that. I know Alana's been talking to the legal department. I don't know if you've been in some of that. But the first date, I think is, you know, like early July to get it to them, so that the board can approve it by July 17th. Which is, you know, calendar wise, that's was the indication I got from Greg. It'll be the next board meeting, the select board meeting we want to shoot for you to approve the question, the language. So we need a legal review before that. Any thoughts on that, Mike? We can always call a special select board meeting, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I would do, I'm not, yeah, I mean, I think we just need the deadline to be similar to what we did for the conservation restriction for the Vandersloot property. We, you know, we call it special town. I mean, I would not, don't this base this on the select board schedule. I would base this on, the deadlines, and we need to make it work. But it's fine as it is, I guess. I think that's aggressive, but it has to be, I suppose.
Well, we have that 8/7 date, which we have to be ready for, right? Everyone's got to go through there. We have to have our stuff together and approved by you, town clerk, you meaning select board.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a legal review before that. So that's where I was getting the dates of the 17th.
That to me is, you know, if it's simple, that's fine. I can, you know, but it's legal reviews are the thing that stops me in my tracks, to be honest, because there's a lot of things on their plate to review outside of this project. But I mean, for this discussion, it is what it is. It's fine.
I'm still suggesting in this calendar, I've got it in blue, that we start to consider July, August, September, and October town meetings for communications to the voters. And try to bring ABMI in. Then I'll reach out to them to have it recorded, including some of the select board meetings that we want to also maybe record when we present, if you will. And as we go forward, the November election is 11/5. We had some discussion in the last meeting of, do we do a special election? Do we do tied into the November election, the presidential election? But I'm open to go either way. I mean, you get more voters out on November 5th. It doesn't cost us much, if anything, because we've got, it's already an election. But if we do a special election, I think we still need a long runway. I think last week we decided that November is our target window and not September.
Yeah, September was too early with vacations and people away.
November gives you the most amount of time to get that information out.
Right.
We said we didn't have that for this vote, so
Yeah.
the longer we have, the more information we can get out.
I don't know if we need to make that decision yet, but it's either a special town election in November or a presidential election. From a prudence standpoint, I would say save some money and don't do a special election. My God.
So would that be like the only ballot question then on, although no, the ballot would come from the Massachusetts, from the government, right? From the Massachusetts state government. How would we get our ballot question on it?
We have our own ballot questionnaire.
attached to?
You'd have state questions, federal election questions, and you'd have this question.
Who's paying for that?
We'd have to come up with
Okay,
it.
so we still pay, we have to.
We still have to print a ballot,
Okay, we're still printing it. That's what I wasn't getting.
because it doesn't go on the statewide document, it just goes on.
That's what I figured.
So there's still cost to put this on any election.
Right.
Around any critical things that you can anticipate, Mike, from your vantage point from the select board or dealing with the town legal.
Well, I think leveraging the biennial ballot, you dropped in that August deadline. If you do a special election not associated with the state biennial, then you don't need to worry about that August 11th date. So you free up some time on preparation. I think the other thing is this is a situation where the ballot's going to come before the town meeting vote. If I had to guess, right?
Yeah.
That's good. That'll be interesting. Whereas if you do a special election, we can just have 90 days after town meeting to get that election done, which might buy you more time for communication. I think we should, maybe there's an action item here, Phil, to sit down with Ellen to walk through the different variations that are in consideration, get her input to say, how would she want to manage, the election portion of this?
I agree. I'll reach out to Ellen Thursday. Tomorrow it's closed, I think, right?
Right,
I just think with the if the vote comes before the floor vote ballot, the election comes before the town meeting STM, are we sowing confusion? Kind of like when the people got ballots in the mail and they weren't sure what this question was, but we had to have it printed on the ballot before we even talked about it on the floor, right?
Yep.
That might be a consideration. I'm not sure if people have gotten feedback about the mail, but the voting by mail process, if they found that confusing or helpful, et cetera, as it pertains to this question.
Yeah, we still haven't done the analysis of that now. Again, it's still in my back pocket. I've been trying to play a spreadsheet. Yeah, some of the things I have need to be set up. Printing of the ballot, special town meeting, and town meeting, mail-in ballot. When does that go? Because that all plays into a schedule too. The balance doing the national election ballots in September, October. I'm not sure what the law is. Then I would like to say that we as a committee put a neutral position out of what this ballot question means. Not a vote yes, but do a neutral. Here's what it means. You impact the taxes. Here's the benefits you receive. Because that question, I think, confused the hell out of a lot of people. But no legal age. And I think when we talked to the legal department, they said they could be, the state puts out something from a neutral party, just stating the facts for all the questions they have put out. And I suggest that this committee could do a neutral mailing describing what this ballot question is, so there's no ambiguity. We can have meetings, we can have postings, we can have all that, but this, if you vote for this, it means your tax will have this impact. And this is your benefit. If you don't vote for it, here's the impact. That's a communication piece I would like to try to nail in conjunction and timing with the ballot. We're talking about it.
Sorry about that. Oh,
That's all right. We're talking about Mike. We can't pay Mike Petrovic for a couple until at least July. Or earliest next week we get approval.
Yeah.
And they're gonna allocate. When they were talking about the benefits for the money being part of the a special one or be part of the major election. Any thoughts, Mike?
I'm just thinking, we're putting a blurb in the local paper and probably the senior scene also about needing more volunteers. I can tell you that the three of us cannot handle this. We cannot do it. I mean, it's just not, it's too much ground to cover for three people.
Oh, we do need volunteers.
Yes, yes. I wish that Carolyn would decide to volunteer. She asked some very good questions last week.
I think she's ready.
And she attended one of the sessions.
She's ready to join.
I think Elena knows.
Yeah. She called me to us.
Oh, good, because she did ask good questions.
Yeah, she's fine.
She seems to have energy. That's good.
She has. She said she brought energy. I can
But
reach
we
out.
need more than that too.
I know.
We need somebody who's got an in with the schools. You know, somebody who's either children go there or, you know, there may be a teacher there, a faculty member or administrator. Because that was a good point that they made, you know, you've got to show that the kids will benefit too, which I thought we tried to get that across. You did with the Cub Scout meetings and, you know, being across the street. Just didn't fly.
I think my neighbor's the president of the school committee.
I mean,
My neighbor, I believe, is the president of the school committee. And he supported us.
well, maybe he doesn't want to be on a committee though, but I mean, he could come occasionally, you know what I'm saying? He could handle that end. We have to have more help.
Good point. I'll take an action to reach out to two people that I know who were at that meeting that we attended.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean when we, yeah.
The superintendent also said she'd like to engage. Just as she thought there's a lot of synergy between the senior center and the school system. So she was willing to engage, so we can talk to Colleen as well. She said after the school got it, which is now on. Okay.
One topic that I have a little confusion on, and trying to get straight in my mind, is if we're talking about now completely having no bottom floor, and everything is just on one floor.
No, actually, it's still,
It still will be two floors. Okay, because I didn't get that impression from when he was talking.
that was me.
Was you talking? Well, okay, because I'm wondering about our footprint size. Like the size of the senior center now, if we added an addition to it, which there is not enough room down there. But compared to the footprint size that we're talking about up at the corner.
Well, we'll go through that one. The footprint is close to 13,000 square feet.
Up there it was, yes, but I'm saying with the changes now, the footprint's going to decrease.
It's got to decrease.
Right, and did he say like by a third? My understanding when I was doing my notes and looking at what I wrote was that he said that in order to really save money, you're looking at going down a third.
Well, again, I think what happens, you lose things like food pantry. Or there's an alternative. And I know it's a vital part of it. I mean,
I can't imagine Amy wanting to give that up. I can't imagine the Council on Aging wanting to give that up.
Give what up?
I mean,
Give what up?
the food pantry.
Yeah, I don't think that was
That's
given
not-
up in our last discussion. I think that may not be a finished food pantry as it was designed, but I think you've still got the basement, you know, the 2-floor structure.
Yeah, it depends on, a brief discussion with Mike, if he brings in the building and relocates things from upstairs to downstairs, squishes it, you may lose the food pantry.
Or
Yeah, well-
make it a smaller food pantry. Right?
How does everybody feel about that? I mean,
I think small is small. I mean, it's all relative, Mike. It's got to be able to have enough square footage to handle what we have, pay minimally.
I think people have to acknowledge the fact that a lot of people said, why do we need the Taj Mahal of senior centers from a feedback standpoint, right? So do you need, what is the minimum acceptable footage, Phil, for a food pantry? And you'd probably start with what you have today, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't work today, because you overflow the garage. So you gotta do part of
Yeah.
the garage. through
It
pay.
doesn't
Yeah.
work from a design standpoint, but from do. All right.
Seriously, I've dished out, I've been there when we package inside, deliver outside, because you can't get people inside, so you need a delivery area.
Mhm.
So you need a delivery area, which is a quarter or a half of the first bay of the garage. The food pantry shelves are where you put the food. And you go picking through these shelves. And that, we could do that space allocation and say, this is the minimum, and then the redesign does it fit. But this could be as dramatic as you say, what do we do with food pantry? Yeah, and I would, as a townsperson, I wouldn't want to dump food.
You would want to what?
I wouldn't want to jettison a food pantry. Because there's 400 some uses of it a year.
You know, that's our contact, that's Janet's contact point with clients. It's a way to maintain seeing them and finding out what's going on. And
You raise a valid point I hadn't thought about.
I mean, we are a social service agency. Yeah.
Sure.
You know, you find out that people need fuel assistance, you find out that people need medical assistance, you find out that they, which I'll say tomorrow night at your joint, it's like the food insecurity is terrible. I mean, everybody, we all shop and we know what it's like. And they have families.
Mike, first thing we need to do is get money to re-engage the architect to put the stuff together. So let's get through that piece, and those things, we can then get our tape measure out along with the architect. And there's some valid things that Peg bring together. Because it is a safety net for a lot of people.
Well, how does everybody else feel?
Many days out of the month is food pantry open? It's not open every day, right?
Well, it isn't open every day, but we do give out food almost every day. People come up and they need it. We have, like on Fridays, and it's because of confidentiality. Center is not open on Fridays. So what we do is we have people come in and we have a group of people that like to do their own shopping. Do those in like 15 or 20-minute increments where they come in, they take the shopping cart, they get what they want, and they give us their list for next month, so we can put it aside. And then other times during the week, we have volunteers and they are putting the bags together to get for all the families. And only Janet knows the families. Everything is all confidentially numbered. But generally Friday is the dispensation time, distribution time.
Friday?
Yes.
But there's work, to, stocking and
There's work stocking and checking dates and things, but if Amy gets a call, this family's got nothing, or Janet makes a home visit, this family has nothing, we either get them to come or we bring it to them. I think that's the beauty of a small town.
Does
So
it
we don't
have, does
have
it
that-
have to be with the senior center? Can it stay where it is?
Who's gonna manage it?
They can manage it now, can they?
No, that's Janet. She's our outreach worker. She'll go with Amy to the new center.
Or can you set like hours for the food pantry and then she goes to the food pantry for hours?
That's a question for Amy.
And the only thing I was thinking, I know you do a study or figure out what you want to do with the site. But I mean, where it's already set up as a food pantry. And, if we're not going to set the new senior center up to be an emergency management location, do we leave it there and make that a function room, another meeting room, emergency management on the top? Maybe to share with some offices and park if they need them. And then you keep the whole bottom as a food pantry, so it's still an operational building for town services.
They hire somebody, they'd have to hire somebody for that. Janet's not full-time, I don't believe.
What do you think, Mike, about that, or that just too far out there, too outside the box?
Well, I was still under the impression the food pantry was still with the redesign to start. I didn't think Mike had eliminated that. I would expect to see it in the design. I would say that Dave's idea kind of make sense. I wouldn't put any offices in there. I think emergency management on the top, if you will, and then, you know, whatever, and then the food pantry on the bottom. Maybe some, you know, storage, but I wouldn't put town offices there, just given I heard confidentiality, things like that. You know, I think it doesn't, it sub-optimizes the use of that building, Dave, you know, in the long run, if we were to leave it there, I think. But it's a possibility if we think it makes sense.
And then that could be a cooling center and a heating center in the winter without disturbing the senior center like we do now.
Yeah, because
You know,
we're closed for the holiday tomorrow.
Still
Yeah.
have it
And
as
you'd
a
have a
meeting.
kitchen there, a working kitchen and stuff too. I mean,
So it'd be a meeting room that maybe organizations can use, the Lions, the Boy Scouts. I don't know. Because right now, if we have a solid week of, say, 100-degree weather, how do we run the cooling center with the senior center? Really, it's tough to run it together, right?
Right, tomorrow will work out because Amy,
Tomorrow will, but
yeah,
if we have 2 more days of 100-degree weather,
well, it sounds like that's gonna be a plan between you and Amy.
I think there are options we need to look at. But first, we need to engage somebody to start crunching designs, the cost of this, so we understand what we're trading on. Well, there are options.
I mean, and it would give you more privacy if you want privacy with the food pantry. If it's not an operational building where there's staff coming in and out, if we're making a senior center that's more a community center, there's a lot of people there, kind of destroying the privacy for the food pantry there.
I think the only point that I didn't think about, Peg, the one you brought up with
Janet,
Janet being,
yeah,
that's how she engages with her people, because they're in outreach, they're in need, confidentiality, but she can check in with the families to see what other services they need, because it's more than just.
you always meet the immediate needs when you're a social worker. When somebody comes into you, you meet the immediate needs, and then you get them back. Because they're not gonna think about anything else except they need food, or they need heat, or they need something else.
Yeah. They need the basic,
Primary, they
they
need the
need the
basics.
basics of life. I think that's a piece that people, but that's okay. I think once we get the numbers, let's proceed with an informal conversation with Mike. We won't get anything until we get an allocation of funds for him to engage. And then, Mike, if you can keep pushing that with finance and select board to bring that up, I'll be glad to attend any of those meetings. And then we'll get the numbers and the rest of the schedule. I send it out to all of you. If you have any other ideas or thoughts, things to be critical path. Along with this, I want to build another schedule, which could be the communication schedule. And I don't want to delve into that too much this evening. First, we got to get this to a vote position. But if we decide November, we have communications opportunities in July, August, September, and October. And in 4 months, if we can't get this thing drilled into the citizens, I don't know what we're going to do. Which means our pricing and our positioning needs to be done by August, early August.
The cost is just gonna go up.
Oh, the cost goes up every, as Dave was saying, it goes up monthly. Each month you miss, you, and then it becomes a diminishing return, right? So I would ask each one of you to take a look at this schedule. You've got it in your inbox. Shoot your comments back, look at critical path items. I've got an action item to go talk to Helen, see what she thinks. I got an action item to go talk to people I know in the school committee, try to get them engaged. And then we'll, and Mike, we got the action item on FinCom and the select board to find out funding. Mike, or not.
yep. And I got the warrant and ballot language.
Is that you, Mike, handling that?
That's gonna be, can we leave that with Elena?
Say what?
Can we leave that with Elena?
She's gonna be gone for like 3 weeks, isn't she?
Oh.
We probably just, yeah, you could just use the same, right? So that shouldn't be too hard of a task. Whoever takes
We
that
might
task.
want to, change the contingent language
Yeah.
in terms of the motion and things like that, but yeah, we're close on it, Dave, to your point.
Do you want me to, or Dave, do you want to work with legal on that?
Yeah, I can do whatever. It doesn't matter. I think I worked with her last time to get that done.
I think you did.
Yeah, with Karis. So I don't mind taking,
Maybe Dave will.
staying on top of Karis.
Hey, man, I think I did it, but that's fine. I don't care.
But keep you in the loop, Mike.
I mean, Dave, I would just take the last language and just say, you know, we don't want this to be a conditional motion or article.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll still be conditional in the practical sense, but the wording was very specific that I don't think anyone knew what we meant. Like, we said conditional, they literally said conditional, and that changes the options on going back to a second vote as an example.
Okay, David, you can carry that one.
Yeah, I don't mind.
And then, the only other thing I had in the back of my mind, we now have a new TA,
Oh, do we, yeah?
yeah, which is good news.
Okay.
That came out, somebody announced it the other, Ellen announced, it,
Okay.
or Mary announced, somebody announced. So with that, not this meeting, but Dave, I'd like to get some time in front of him and also figure out who's gonna be driving the $100,000 that came from the state reps, and who's gonna be driving the House and Senate federal guys.
Can Bonnie do that?
Well, Lonnie touched it, but it wound up being.
No, that should
Marucco.
come through. That should come through either the TA or the select board, to be honest, I think.
I think
But
so,
I'm not
too.
sure there's much driving there to be done because we're either gonna get it or we're not, right? I
Well,
don't
it
think there's
isn't,
another round that's gonna teed up before November for us to apply, if that makes sense.
right. But I mean, is there any way to, just follow up? How's it going? What's going, just be a pain in the ass. Be a lobbyist to these folks, I guess.
Didn't it pass one house and not the other yet?
I'm not sure. I don't know the status of where it is, I guess.
Yeah.
So I would expect the TA and select board, somebody could go just check the status. Has it gone through the House and it gets,
One had passed it, I know that.
I don't know.
That's
where it
probably a TA thing. I think when the TA starts, I imagine he'll start reaching out to our state reps, our state senators and, federal senators. He should start making those connections. So and create a line, a channel. So.
I was involved with the federal one, helping to build the paperwork for that. For David. I was not involved with the state one. I don't know who was involved with that.
Mike did that.
Mike Rowley?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
Collectively
involved.
with Dave DeMonge.
So maybe it's a discussion now with Mike and myself or yourself or any one of us actually, with the new TA. Say these are important items to follow up.
Yeah, we're gonna give the TA a little breathing room when he starts, Phil. We're gonna review everything that's going on, not just this, and understand how we get after it. Because that topic that you're bringing up for this particular project is a broader view of how do we get after grants, et cetera, across the board, right?
I agree, it's a broader, but I'd like to stay narrow focused on what's in play just for this, right? There's
I know you do, but as a member of the select board, I want to give the TA some breathing room and set up the broader picture for him to go after. The board in general will need to decide on how that goes. I think we lay it out near term. My guess he would focus on this, right? Because it's the nearest term deliverable that we have running.
Yeah, again, if he's too busy doing something else, and Mike Morelli was involved, I'd be glad to help Mike Morelli and go chase me while your TA gets up to speed. Our TA. I guess I just don't want to lose sight of the two things we've started. And if Mike Morelli's not going to chase it, I'll be glad to chase it. If the TA can't, that's what my position, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to just sunset somewhere because nobody called them. Right. Okay, That's all I had. Any new business or any new thoughts? Okay, we got another crack at this, guys. We're gonna do this thing. Some size, some shape, effective building for the senior, minimum. So we're gonna meet weekly until we get it through the redesign and figure out what ballot we're going on.
What's the process for defining the requirements for redesign? Seems to me that there's a lot of people that went off and did it, and then Mike brought a picture back to the committee. Is this gonna be more of an engaged committee to say, weigh in on the options we're presenting?
I think what it's gonna be the needs analysis of the people who use the building again. Revalidate, rethink some ideas there. Then it can come back to the committee, it will come back to the committee with options. Right, but I think Amy's the person who knows what she needs, not us.
Well, I would suggest we need to challenge, not challenge, but I think bringing in third parties with ideas, Phil, would not be the worst thing. I think Amy understands her needs. Does somebody, a third party, have an objective view on how to meet that need versus, so, and what I mean by that is when I see like game room, computer room, and the focus on not breaking down and setting up, we might have to break down in a room and set it up differently and split it in things because we're making it smaller, you know what I mean? So I just want to make sure we're going into this redesign with, not a start from scratch, but let's make sure we're creative as we can be.
I think we'll try for creativity. We'll bring it back to the committee. And the committee can view the options and discuss it. And then, I'll go from the council on the aging being on the board there. I'll come back with practicality of some suggestions if I think they're impractical.
Yeah, I think some more feedback is the idea of single thread. We talked about being single thread right now, and that's a challenge, right? Turning away people, we can add more programming. It's not clear to me, we talked about what new programming was going to be brought in, right? So I just want to make sure that when this is delivered, we can paint the picture of what's different and why it's required more specifically. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And this is about winning the argument, not challenging the need, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's winning the argument from that viewpoint. And the need is the need, Mike, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's a need. And there's with the argument piece. And I think we did that in some of our sessions, but we can do more of that. I'm sure we can. Okay. Anything else? Mark, anything?
Karen, anything for you? No?
Okay, Karen, keep up the good work putting those messages out.
Yeah, she's fabulous with that.
See that come across Facebook all the time? And 5,000 people go to that page.
6,000.
Oh,
It's free.
oh, it's gone up. It's gone up since we tried to get a senior center and a community center. built, huh?
6,100, yeah.
Okay, I have nothing else this evening.
7-11.
Let's work on our action items. Meet again next week.
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. I second. Oh, good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So did I.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Good night,
Night.
guys. Thanks.
Thank
Same time, same station next week.
Good job on all this, Phil. This took a lot of work and time, especially when you're on vacation.
Sorry, I was late. Senator Fatman called me about something, so.
No, it's okay.